Right. So, right. So let us continue the session here. Okay. So, in the last session we spoke about the phylum terminale. Okay, where I spoke about the phylum terminale, which is about 20 centimeters, where the phylum terminale internum was 15 centimeters, and the phylum terminale externum it is 5 centimeters. Okay, and this externum is present where it is present. It is present below S2, below S2, and that's all you need to understand. Now the next point written here, it is present outside the arachnoid membrane. Okay, the dura converges at S2, ends at coccyx. The spinal dura is single layer, unlike two layers of cranial dura. And we should also understand that lower terminal part of a spinal cord is called conus medullaris. So let us understand here. Let us finish this. Okay. So in this, the first point written here is phylum terminal extremities of 5 centimeters. So if you look into this, this is the level of L1. Okay, this is the level of S2, and this is the level of coccyx. So phylum external is present. It is a 5 centimeters, right, which is present from S2, right, S2 to the coccyx. That's all you need to understand. And this is present outside the arachnoid membrane. Where is arachnoid membrane? This is arachnoid membrane. So it is present outside the arachnoid membrane. And if you observe this carefully, this is a dura. Okay, the dura converges at S2. This is what? This is pyometer, this is arachnoid, and this is dura. And this dura, this is the one aspect, right side or the left side, they converges at S2. Okay, and this convergence, it converges at S2. Okay, and remember that this is a spinal dura, it is of single layer, whereas in the cranial dura, which is of double layer. Why it is of double layer? Because you have one dura which is attached to the bone endosteal layer, and another is which is attached to the other membranes, that is meningeal layer of dura. Okay, but here spinal cord we have got only one layer, so this is a meningeal layer, only one layer is present. Okay, and the next point written here, it's written that lower terminal part of the spinal cord is called conus medullaris. So what is this? This is a conus medullaris, remember that. Okay, this is a lower terminal part of the spinal cord, lower terminal part. So above this here, if you draw carefully here, above you have a spinal cord, and this is a lower terminal part of the spinal cord is conus medullaris, and that's the basic point you need to understand. And the next point written here is, it's written that there are two enlargements which are present here. Two enlargements. Where are these two enlargements present? And you have gotten one cervical enlargement which is seen at C4 to T2, and you have lumbar enlargement which is seen at L2 to S3. So these two important points you need to understand. You have got a cervical enlargement, and next you have got something known as lumbar enlargement. So what is it trying to tell us? So if you observe carefully, right, if you observe carefully this diagram here, so this is total of spinal cord. Okay, this is spinal cord, and what is this? You have gotten this is an enlargement which is seen. This is an enlargement, right? This is an enlargement. The enlargement which is present at the cervical point, this is a cervical enlargement. The enlargement which is present at the lumbar point, this is a lumbar enlargement. And which spinal, at what level you have gotten cervical enlargement? The level is seen at the C4 to T2. This is a enlargement. And then next we have got something known as lumbar enlargement. Where exactly the lumbar enlargement, baby? The lumbar enlargement, it is at the L2 to S3. So that's a basic point in it. Now how do you remember this? Okay, so this is a cervical, right? Cervical, this is T2, it's not T2, only till T2. Okay, so you have got something known as C4, C5, C6, C7, T1, T2. Lumbar enlargement L2 to S3. You can just remember after 2, 3 comes, so there is no issue in that. So this is also 2 here, 2, 2, 3. So ultimately you have got 2, 2, 3, and this is 4. So just remember however you feel it, but remembering is important. Okay, so the next important point we need to understand is, so the whole session which we have already discussed, and they have put it as in the diagram. Okay, they have put it as in the brief table here. So what is that? So the first point written here, it's written that spinal cord in the adult ends at, okay, where does it end, baby? it ends at lower border of L1. Lower border of L1. The spinal cord in the newborn ends at where is that is end? It ends at the upper border of the L3. So from the upper border of the L3, so which I have already discussed, this is example, this is L3, this is L2, this is L1. Initially at the spinal cord, it is present at the upper border of the L3, where in the newborn, okay. So if you look into the L1, okay, the L1 which is present at the lower border of the lower border of spinal cord in the adult ends at lower border of L1. So that's an important point we need to understand. And the next points we need to discuss is, pia ends at coccyx. So which I have already discussed here. Pia mater ends at coccyx. What is pia mater? It is, you have already the phylum terminale. So phylum terminale, where does it end? It ends at the coccyx. So that's what it's written here. So pia mater or the pia ends at coccyx. And the next important point, arachnoid membrane ends at, where does it, which I have already discussed, at the level of S2, right? Then the if that is arachnoid membrane, we need to understand the subarachnoid space also is present, and the same space where it is just below the arachnoid membrane. So we have got an subarachnoid space, and where does it end? Subarachnoid space, it ends at the lower border of S2. Okay, lower border of S2, same thing, same point. So same point, lower border of S2. And the next important aspect which is present is, it is a dura. Okay, what is dura? It converges at S2. Okay, whereas what does it do? It converges at S2 and ends at coccyx. That's the first point. It is converges at what? The dura converges at S2 and ends at coccyx. So that's which I've already discussed. Dura mater converges and ends at coccyx. There is no issue on that. And fine, that's all about this. And next clinical aspect you have here is lumbar puncture done at, where does the lumbar puncture done? The lumbar puncture is done at L3 to L4 or L4 to L5. So at the level of L3, L4 or L4 to L5. So that's the basic point we need to understand regarding this lumbar puncture and other important aspect of the external feature of spinal cord. And now it's time to understand some basics, other important basic points. One is, you have got something known as ligamentum denticulatum. Okay, so what is it? It is an ligamentum denticulatum. So what do you mean by this ligamentum denticulatum, guys? So the first point written here, it's written that modification of what is it? It is a modification of pia mater. Okay, modification of pia mater. And it's also written that what is it? It's also written that there are two, one on either side, and it is a tooth-like process, right? And we even have got other important aspect, that is a 21 projections on each side. Okay, 21 projections on each side. And the next important aspect, that is last projection seen at the level of T12 to L1. Last projection is seen at the level of T12 to L1. It is connected to the inner dura. Okay, it is connected to the inner dura, which is present between the ventral root and the dorsal root. And the next important aspect is, it is an important landmark in neurosurgery. And the next point, it is one you have gotten behind the ligamentum denticulatum, that is a dorsal root, in front of ligamentum denticulatum, that is ventral root. So let us understand what are these important points. Okay, so let me diagram here. So this is an open structure of a spinal cord, which I have already done. So now how exactly you remember is, so how exactly you see this is, say example, if this is a spinal cord, okay, this is a spinal cord. Okay, so if I cut the section here, okay, or if I just remove the anterior layer aspect, okay, where exactly I have told you the dura mater, which is surrounded by, you have gotten tap layers, okay, above dura mater, arachnoid, and you have gotten pia mater, correct? Right? So now what I have done is, this is a spinal cord. Okay, this is a spinal cord. Now once this is a spinal cord, just remember this is a spinal cord here, and you have gotten membranes. Okay, what membranes you have? You have got an arachnoid membrane, right? You have got an arachnoid membrane, guys. Then you have got what is the first layer here? Dura mater. Okay, so example, this is a dura mater. Now this is a dura mater, And then D, A comes from the arachnoid matter, right? Arachnoid matter. And next important aspect is pia matter. What is pia matter? Pia matter, this is the pia matter. Okay, pia matter. Now we need to understand that now there is some modification of the pia matter. Okay, so what is the modification of pia matter? This is a pia matter. This is a modification of pia matter. Just you need to understand this. Okay, what is that? A modification of pia matter, and there are two, one on either side. This is one projection like structure. This is another projection like structure. Okay, this is one projection like structure. Next you have another projection like structure. When I tell this is one projection like structure and this is another projection like structure, remember that they are of two types. Okay, two pairs, like pair like structures. And remember that the name itself tells it is an denticulatum. What do you mean by denticulatum? Or you can call this a denticular ligament. So denticulate itself means a tooth-like projection. So that's a basic point you need to understand. This is a tooth-like projections. Okay, tooth-like projections. Now you have one on either side. Remember, you have one on either side. Total you have 21 projections. Remember that. Okay, you have 21 projections, right? 21. Then you need to remember this. They may ask, okay, right, you have gotten 21 projections, but what is the last projection seen at? Last projection seen at the level of, it is seen at the level of T12 to L1, right? T12 to L1. Last projection is seen at the level of what? It is seen at T12 to L1. So that's the point. T12 to L1. Right? So this is what? This is T12 to L1. This is the last projections. Last projection seen at T12 to L1. And the next important point to understand is it is connected to the inner dura, which is present between the ventral and the dorsal root. Now what is it trying to tell us is this is a pia mater. Okay, this is a denticulate ligament, and this denticulate ligament, observe carefully, it is connected to this dura. It is connected to the inner dura because this is an dura mater. Remember that this is an open section. I repeat once again, this is a cut section and I have opened it. Okay, I have opened the dura mater, the first layer. Then you can see the arachnoid and the pia mater. This pia mater is connected to the inner dura. Okay, and where it is present, it is connected, which is present between the ventral root and the dorsal root. What do you mean by ventral root? This is the ventral. Remember what is this? This is a ventral root. This is a dorsal root. Right? This is a ventral root. This is a dorsal root. Where these two roots are present. Remember that. Okay.